What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Two Wheeled Rider podcast. I don't know when it was, like a week ago. I put up an Ask Me Anything, and we got a bunch of questions, so we're going to answer them tonight.
All right, cut. Didn't you say the podcast?
Oh, I don't know what I said.
I said Two Wheeled Rider podcast.
Oh, okay. So we're not going to answer all of the questions tonight, but you will see the answers to all the questions in this video. But I am joined in studio because we're recording two podcasts tonight by
Brian Boyer.
So, Brian, you got the questions in front of you. Let's rapid fire. Tell me who asked them and give me the question, and I'll do my best to answer it.
All right, let's rock and roll. Tyler Yost, when will you start racing the mini GPs?
This year. Actually, I know. I've got the schedule. I don't know which is going to be my first one, but I want to say it's like March, April time frame, something like that.
Bike's ready to go.
Yeah, bike is ready to go. Rider, I don't know.
Russell Pendleton, and sorry if I butcher any of these names, are you planning any wild and wonderful weekends in 2022 that a Harley Touring and Can-Am can attend?
It is the Two Wheeled Rider YouTube channel, not the Three Wheeled Rider YouTube channel. But yes, we will have a street ride, our typical wild and wonderful weekend ride. Harleys are invited. We've had plenty of Harleys come along before. Can-Am would be a first, and I'm cool with that. So, yeah, stay tuned. Brian and I are actually working on the dates tomorrow. So,
all right, next up, Neil Pence has a couple questions. The first one is, looking back, what was your favorite bike trip that you've taken, and what was your favorite bike that you had? So, two parts there.
Favorite bike trip taken? I don't know. I guess it depends on how we're measuring it. Like the Costa Rica trip was badass, but I didn't ride to there. Alaska was awesome. This year's was tough to beat, though. Riding off-road in Moab with my sister, that was a lot of fun. So I think we'll go with that one. Maybe it's just top of mind. Favorite bike I've had, I'll probably go with my 1290 Super Adventure. Question also from Neil Pence. This is for you, Brian. When the hell are you planning to do a longer trip?
Well, first off, I feel special to get a question, so thanks, Neil. Honestly, so I had one planned here soon, but some life stuff happened. And being honest, it's tough with the little ones, but definitely have planned for a quick round trip, long trip this year. And I think a cross-country style trip will be in next year or in 2 years.
All right, fair enough.
All right, next up from Roadstar 1963. How are those two-wheeled rider license plates holders coming along? And did you get tired of advertising for my dealer?
Yeah, so he hit me up about those license plate frames a while back, and I looked into them, and I found a supplier, and I think I could make it make financial sense, assuming some of you guys ordered them. I got to find that supplier again, because when I saw his question, I looked it up, and I can't find them. So they're not coming along very well.
All right, next up is from an awesome YouTube channel, The Boyers. Are there any plans for a C Senior Championship title run off-road?
I don't know about this year, because the one series we run in kind of has a wonky schedule. I'm going to say not this year, so no.
All right. Next up from Corey Shook. I'm an older retired military, and I've had 4 surgeries on my hands, and I've come to realize I want comfort for those long trips, and I doubt I would ever want to leave the pavement. I'm tired from the heat from an air-cooled engine. I simply cannot deal with the vibration in his hands. The idea of an Indian Challenger and even a Goldwing appeal to him. What are your thoughts or recommendations while considering a new motorcycle?
So I've never ridden the new Indian. My recommendation would be go ride both motorcycles and see which one you like the best. I believe that Indian comes in quite a bit cheaper than what the Goldwing comes in. But Honda's known for their reliability, though I'm not a huge fan of that new Goldwing just because I don't like that front suspension a whole lot. But I would go ride them both. I don't think you can make necessarily a bad decision in either one. Though I would imagine the Goldwing is going to handle a little bit better power to weight ratio. Kind of comes down to your budget, but definitely ride them both. Don't buy a motorcycle without riding it.
All right, next up we have from our good friend Luke Ross. Mario, we see you in the gym early in the morning. So what do you bench?
I don't even know what I bench right now. I can still rep out 225 like a dozen times or so. My max, not currently, but my highest ever max was 355 twice. I doubt I could do 315 right now.
All right. Next up from JD Redfield. If you bought another bike today, would you buy the new Super Adventure? He's looking at one, but the salesman said he can't remember ever selling one for someone that wanted to do a lot of two-up riding.
Okay, so the two-up riding part I don't really get, but a lot of people are buying them because depending on whether you're talking about the S or the R model, the S model is a sport touring bike, so yes, that makes sense for two-up riding. The R model is going to have basically the same ergonomics, but most people are buying an R model to ride off road. So maybe if you're looking at that comment makes sense. I would never buy a brand new first year model of anything. That said, this platform has been around for a while, so I'd feel pretty confident in it. Like the engine's not really that much different. It'd basically just be the electronics a little bit. Yeah, I'd buy another Super Adventure for sure.
All right, next up from Jerry James. I noticed she's pulling a lot of fans, too, from the latest travel series. But what is your fondest memory riding with your sister, Angela?
Probably her giving me the double middle finger when we pulled into Sheets there in Romney, and we busted open that side cover on her bike because the chain got loose.
Bronco ride. Oh, this is a good one. Will you ever give Harley a chance? I had to ask this.
Is he that same guy whose bike wouldn't start because it got moisture in the side stand switch? He was on a Harley, right?
Same bike.
Yeah. I always said if they made something that interested me, yes. I think they've made a pretty good leap with the Pan America, but I'd like to see one with a 21-inch front, something that's actually made to go like a little bit more gnarlier off road than like obviously I have a Super Adventure T, which is more the adventure touring model, but maybe. But I'm also not going to drop $30,000 on one, so got to be price competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up, Lefty Mike. Any advice for a brand new YouTuber, specifically technical advice? So far, I really suck at editing. We've all been there. My wife and I have already created a YouTube channel and just need to figure out the editing part before we upload anything. Also curious, what do you do to get audio from other riders into your videos?
So let me touch on the audio part first because that's the easy part. Typically, the way this works is everybody that's on, I don't want to say everybody that's on one of my rides, but if you're hearing them talk, they've got a GoPro and a hardwire mic set up. Yeah, there are people putting out videos of how you can run 90 feet of wire and hook it up to your Cardo or your Cena or whatever. To me, that's not really a long-term solution. So yes, everybody's going to need a camera and or audio recording device to pull that off, but it's pretty easy to sync up in post. Just figure out, you need to figure out the editing part. That's going to be the toughest part to figure out. My recommendation would be this. First thing is you just gotta practice it. The more videos you make, the better you're going to get. Second part, I would look up, watch a lot of videos from YouTubers you like their style. I'm not saying steal from them, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind when you're filming, because if you film the right stuff, it's going to make it a lot easier to edit. Also, there's a lot of good channels out there that show you like tips and tricks and editing and that sort of thing. Watch those. And then Brian, I don't know if you want to touch on it. You actually entered Casey Neistat's film school. I'm not going through it, so I can't speak to it, but Brian might be able to share his experience so far.
Mario and I had discussed about that. The main reason I took it is to speed up that learning curve. I think, Mario's already had those skills that he's been able to self-teach himself, and that's kind of your two-step part. One, I would say to cut the learning curve is to find a good film class. There's, options out there. The free option is YouTube videos, study a lot, and then it's just do it. You got to get in there. You got to start cutting up footage. You got to just build your skill set. It's a toolbox, and you're going to have to keep putting new tools in there, and that unfortunately just takes time. But definitely find someone that knows. Mario's cut down my learning curve tremendously. YouTube videos, and then if you have a class or, you can enter one of those continuous educations, maybe at the, local community college, it definitely helps speed up.
And there's some other stuff out there like Skillshare. I'm sure there's some decent classes on there. The only tip or advice I'll give you when it comes to editing is wherever you start to lose interest in your own video, cut 2 seconds off of that clip and then watch it again, and then cut 2 more seconds off of it, or roughly, or at least 2 to 3% off of it, to where you're still entertained. Just cut a little more off, because you're watching your own stuff and somebody else watching is definitely not going to be as entertained as what you are watching yourself back on camera.
Great advice. All right. Next up, we have John Dimink. Mario, do you have any bikes lined up for review? Very interested in the 22 SAS and would like to know what you think of it after riding one. The 22 has revised the rake trail and a longer swing arm. Thanks, John.
So currently, no, but that's not to say I won't. Obviously, there's supply chain shortage on these bikes. So where I would typically get loaned out a bike and or a dealer would put it on demo. They're not putting as many on demo anymore. It's not to say I won't, but to answer your question, I do not have any lined up at the moment.
Next up, Tom Eberhard. I'm interested in your opinion of the 990 Adventure versus your SAT, pros and cons. I have a 950 Adventure and I'm thinking about getting the 1290, 2016 to 2017. Interested in your thoughts.
They're different bikes, and it's tough for me to compare. It depends on what you want to do with them. If you still want to do some off-road, but you want to do longer distance, obviously the Super Adventure or Super Adventure T is the way to go. But if you're more interested in riding off-road, I would stick with the 990. It's a simpler platform. Not to say that the Super Adventure T is that complicated. The other nice thing about the Super Adventure T is the maintenance intervals are way further apart, and I don't want to say it's easier to work on, but it's a little bit quicker to work on than the 990 or 950. But the 990 is a better off-road bike. Now, if you were asking me the difference between the 990 and the 1290R, they're a little more similar, but that you're giving up some taking that 19-inch front, 17-inch rear versus the 2118. So it all depends on what you want to do with it. But definitely the maintenance intervals are a big pro for the newer model bike, but the 990 is better off-road.
Right, Ben Taylor, he has a 1190 and is 1,000 miles away from the 18K service. He's going to be riding from Anchorage, from Denver in 6 months, and has to get it ready. Doesn't know too much about the LC8, so what would you recommend for service? Bite the bullet and take it to a certified KTM dealer, or do I trust myself and complete the maintenance?
I don't know. I don't know what your mechanical abilities are, Ben. I'll say this. It's not a difficult service. So basically what you're going to be doing at that point, obviously you got the oil change, and I'm going to leave out stuff like checking fasteners and checking your spoke tension. You got all that stuff. But the big things you're doing to it are you're doing the oil and filter service. Obviously you're going to check your chain, those sorts of things. But you're doing spark plugs and you're doing the valve checks. If all you have to do is check the valves and you check them and they turn out fine, the job gets really simple. Pop your valve covers back on, put your spark plugs in, reassemble the bike. If you have to adjust the valves, it's not difficult, but it all comes down to, what your comfort level is. I've had some buddies over here when I'm doing theirs, and they are a bit more mechanically inclined. They've watched me do it and went, that's not really that tough. It's not that tough, but if you think you're going to get it all broken down and then freak out and not want to finish it, just bite the bullet and take it to the dealer. Or a good mechanic. Doesn't have to be the dealer.
Last question we have from Sean Paragon. A year ago, he bought a 1290R, and it's a hell of a lot more bike, but he's a big guy, 300 pounds, and he says, he's having a hell of a time in the sand. I can't get my mind to override my ass. I hear faster is better, but faster usually hurts a little bit more.
I'll let you answer that one, Brian.
Yeah, so sand's a different beast. So the biggest thing that I see in sand or really loose gravel is you got to get your butt off the seat. The next thing I see is death grip. So you really want to loosen up your hand grip. You want to grip with your knees and really let the bike move under you. And while faster is better in the sand in a sense, it's not really overall faster. You need to move at a certain rate of speed, but it's all about carrying your momentum. When you shut off that gas, that's when everything goes bad. I've seen, obviously I'm not going to go through the sand as fast as a pro moto guy, but I can get through it just, fine. And then I see a kid on a 50cc that can get through the sand. And the biggest thing is he's not chopping the throttle, and you just carry your momentum in the sand. Look where you go, keep your head up, and let that bike move under you, and don't be afraid to have it do it, and keep on that gas.
Yeah, make sure you got a decent tire on there, because if you're running around on, granted, I know the R's come with the TKC 80s, but if you're riding around on more like a 50/50 tire, it's going to make it even more difficult. And you can probably air them down a little bit, though be careful about that, because if you are running like the stock tubeless system, you don't want to run them too low on air, and, because we don't have rim locks and stuff on them. So watch that, and you could always run tubes if you want to run them even lower. But yeah, Brian's right. Momentum. So, all right, so that's it for me and Brian. When we come back, and it's not really going to be much of a break, you guys had some questions for my sister, so we're going to tackle those next. All right, so we're back with the second part of this video. Not that it's actually in two parts, but I'm joined by someone else sitting right over here. So you guys had some questions for my sister. The first one comes up from Neil Pence. Are you considering getting a more adventure-style bike so that you can ride a bit more off-road?
Yes. Maury and I have talked about this a few times, just in probably since this past summer, doing some more off-roading. I've been more comfortable doing off-roading. We were talking about, what, a 790 KTM?
Well, I thought you were looking at that Desert X from Ducati.
It's kind of expensive.
Yeah, I think maybe 790.
Desert X is sick, for sure. But yeah, the 790 possibly. Yeah. In the meantime, maybe a little more dirt bike riding. And I've got my old mini bike sitting in the shop. I'd like to get running again too.
All right, next question. Maybe I should have brought Dad on for this one, but I did drop him off some pie earlier. How many acres of plowable land and how many motorcycles are included with your sister's dowry? Asking for a friend. As a 95-pound weakling, I would like some moto workout videos, tips, tricks, strength and hips, back, so I can pick up the bike and some stretches. Keep up the good work. Also, just to get on to that question came from Tony Lamore, but somewhat similar question, but just on the back end. Eben Moore, I don't think they're related, wanted to know about, he knows I get up super early to work out, and wondering if I'd share some of my routine and perhaps some tips you might have for gym-specific motorcycle workouts. So I'll let you take care of the dowry first, and then get into the workout, and then I'll share my part of the workout.
Dowry. What do you have to offer exactly is my question. I'm going to keep that to myself. That said, if you're hanging around me, we're going to get into some fun. But yeah, no, what exactly do you have to offer me? As far as workout routines, later this month, I've got some stuff launching on an app, which I'll share, and I'll have Mario promote and share with you guys. I will have some beginner stuff.
Can I link that in the description?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But there will be beginner workouts on there, which would be great for you guys. And then I'll have some workouts for some of my other clientele, but the beginner stuff is what I'll be promoting for a lot of the motorcyclists, because I do get that question a lot. So I'll have that on there. The other thing I would recommend is maybe a yoga class, especially this time of the year, because you can't really do anything else. That's kind of what I get into. And that's a lot of stretching and isometrics, a lot of joint isolation that will help you guys keep your bodies in better alignment. And then as you work out and stuff, everything's just where it should be. You kind of know where things, just keeping everything balanced in your body.
Yeah. So Eben, to answer your question, I've tried a lot of different workout plans, and this is a lot of trial and error over, we're going over 25 plus years at this point. I still kind of stick to more of a bro split, if you want to call it that. I pick either a single muscle group or a couple muscle groups to work together. Try to hit them up at least once a week. Some muscle groups I may hit up twice a week. I don't work out a whole lot of arms. I try to stick to compound movements. So like bench presses, deadlifts, squats are always going to be the top things for me. Unlike my sister, I'm not into yoga. I don't stretch at all. I've always kind of been that way. However, I am getting a little bit older. I do have to stretch a little bit now just to keep myself a little bit more limber. But the big thing is just consistency. There is no magic. There's no magic bullet. It's for me, it's 80-20, do the right things 80% of the time, have some fun the other 20% of the time, and it's all going to work out in the end. So, hopefully that helps you out. I hope you enjoyed seeing my sister at the later end of the video, because God knows Boyer is not much to look at. So, anyway, listen, guys, I hope you enjoy getting some answers to your questions. I know they're a little bit shorter. We're trying to keep the videos, attainable for you guys to sit down and watch. But if you guys enjoyed it, I hope you did, and let me know down in the comment section below, and we'll try to do something like this again in the future, whether I pull Brian and Angela back on, or I got to pull in some of my other friends, or you just have questions for me. This was actually kind of a lot of fun. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, well, this is the place to be. If you have any other questions, or maybe you just need some clarification on some things we went over, let me know down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll also put those links down. You mentioned, if you wonder why the camera looks a little bit different than it did before, I gave you guys the good camera to look at my sister, and I'm just sitting here on the GoPro. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.